Are you ready to overcome the complexities and burdens that come with your success? Join the team at Centura Wealth Advisory in the Live Life Liberated podcast. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Live Life Liberated with the team from Centura Wealth Advisory. Today, Jonathan Freeman is behind the microphone, and in studio he is a special guest, and that is Pamela Holden. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
Good morning, Eric. Great to hear your voice, and glad to be here once again, enjoying your participation and involvement in this great broadcast.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited. I know that you brought Pam on the show today. Why'd you bring Pam on?
So Pam is the VP of Alliant Americas. She's based here in San Diego, and I can't say that I've got a long relationship with Pam, but she immediately started having great impact on us as a company, and it really is I'll call it a segue or a follow-on to another podcast we did, episode 12, which was managing business risk. So Alliant is a property and casualty brokerage firm, and they're full service, really focusing on business owners in the middle market. And Pam, who has been working with us, really brings a unique skill set, which is very different from what I've seen in the industry. So Pam's diverse background comes from her experience in a lot of different industries, and really, I mean, it's amazing. She's got a law degree. She's worked in accounting, insurance, and some of the top insurance companies in the world. And so she brings all that experience to her clients and really is their advocate. And, you know, most company owners, when they think about insurance, they think about their worst case scenario and trying to avoid, they never want to use their insurance, but they know they need to have it. And when they do need to actually use it, that's where most people are in the dark. And so Pam does an amazing job shedding light, driving for advocacy, and really helping you work and navigate that process on those rare occasions when you actually have to use your insurance. And that's something that's tremendously valuable as a business owner when you're not an expert and you really need a team of experts to help you, work through those issues. So with that, I thought I'd hand it over to Pam and give a little bit more of her background and how she got into this role.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, for the opportunity to be here today. Yes, I do have a very diverse background, and which I believe lends me to be a better broker. All the experiences I've had have just made me realize what you need to know to help a business grow. So with my educational background, I graduated from LMU, Loyola Marymount. I also studied abroad in Heidelberg, Germany. So I was over there for a year.
Can you speak German?
I was born there.
Oh.
So I do, if I have like a beer, yes.
We're not drinking on the job today.
If I have that, all of a sudden my language skills come back. But I am a little rusty because I don't have anyone to speak with on a day-to-day basis. And then, of course, I went to Thomas Jefferson School of Law. And so with that education, I was equipped to go out into the world. And my father was a prominent businessman, a dentist in Oceanside. So I grew up here.
Oh, wow.
And he wanted me well equipped.
Sounds like you did get all that education that really is going to help.
Oh, I did. I thought I wanted to be a practicing attorney, but I interned in a criminal law firm, which was very interesting experience. And then I also interned in a bankruptcy law firm. But I worked on the Chapter 11 reorganization piece of it. So that was very good. And what I learned there was that I just enjoyed business and how can I make people more successful. So I'm going to go back. My first job actually in the corporate world was for a Japanese-owned company. I don't know if you're familiar with La Costa Resort.
Oh, I am. I've been there. Played golf there once.
Yeah, it is actually like running a city. So we had 3 shifts because it's 24 hours. We had over 1,100 employees there. And then I was in charge of I was the chief auditor officer. So I oversaw all the cash that was running through that resort. And then also we had the risk management pieces, which I also looked at and streamlined and just made it more efficient. So I was there for over 4 years. And then later, I was tapped on the shoulder. A big firm was coming into town called BDO. It was the 5th largest global audit and tax firm. And they asked me to come in and start building the office.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of work, a lot of fun. We started with just a partner, myself, and an office manager. And then we grew it over 9 years to 130 employees.
Wow. I know that's a challenge. I've been in those kind of environments.
Yeah.
But you're with Alliant now, so tell us a little bit about Alliant and what they do and how they're different.
Well, Alliant started in San Diego. It was originally RF Driver. They started in 1925. So it's one of the oldest companies in town. Our headquarters is located in Newport Beach.
Okay.
We have over 130 offices, over 4,000 employees. It is, I just came over from Aon, and we have all the resources that I had there. So anywhere from like a startup business to a international company, we have all the resources to handle that.
Got it. And so tell us a little bit more about who's your ideal client. Who do you work with, in terms of your specialties or your areas of expertise?
Well, as you know, insurance is very broad, very complex. And the type of companies that I've been serving are, I would say, high growth, middle market is where my skill set fits the best.
And for the uneducated listener, the middle market is defined by what?
It's typically revenue. So it could be usually 10 to 100 million.
Okay.
I do have clients that have over 12 billion in revenue and also over 100 subsidiaries. So I'm very versed in handling all the scaling but my love is emerging companies because I feel with all my experiences in life, then I can give back to them and then guide them.
Right, and they're the ones that probably need the help the most. They have the limited amount of resources, and they're growing. They don't have the ability to cover all those bases.
Yeah, they do. It's just like what I was going to say. Yesterday, I get a call. This one company, the broker did not take care of renewing their D&O insurance, and so it lapsed. And so I said, go ahead, send over the policies. Let me look at what's going on here. And I said, well, what's your revenue size? And they said, well, we're 25 million. And I said, this program looks like for a $3 million company. And she goes, yeah, I told you we've been really growing. I said, oh my goodness. So anyway, we're going to have to revamp everything, try to start conversations with the incumbent carrier and see if we can get their program back going again.
And so that once it's lapsed, there are opportunities to come back and get it back active?
There are, but that's the first place you start.
Got it. So the typical clients that come to you, are they in trouble already, or how do you usually engage in a new prospect or new client?
Usually most companies don't know what their program is all about. So it's usually a problem that's arisen. Maybe there's some lawsuits, there's claims, and they're not getting service. And for some reason, I get the call. And so I'm like,
you're a problem solver.
I think I am. I'm always looking for solutions. And, I try to think outside of the box and see what I can do let's come up with a solution, make this better.
Well, I know, for speaking out of direct experience, when we were first introduced, you wanted to look at all the existing policies and came back with, after reviewing it, really identifying gaps, issues that our prior agent hadn't been actually doing an effective job. And really, it's eye-opening for someone in my capacity who needs to be cognizant and careful, and when claims do arise, make sure there's coverage. And when you find out there's loopholes and things that haven't been looked at in quite some time, it makes you really think you need someone on your side that's actually going to pay attention to the details.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like we've been trained to, okay, we need to have insurance, we need to buy this. Okay, if it says directors and officers, check. We check the box. That's how we run companies, check the box.
Right.
And so we're going, oh, good, we're covered. And then all of a sudden a lawsuit comes along and you go, oh, well, we're going to get reimbursed by our insurance policy. And I would say 50% of the time that's not true, because especially In directors and officers insurance, it's very customized, and the language is very important. And it could be one word could cost you millions of dollars out of pocket.
Yeah, well, that's fortunately, we're hopefully not in that scenario, but having someone on your side looking at those details is so important as a business owner, because one bad event could literally drive out all your profitability or even put you out of business if you don't have the right coverage.
Well, yeah, and then the other thing is, especially when you have your current broker that you've had from day one, you have to go and see what the market's bearing. So I just think it's a good practice for a company to every 3-4 years go out, maybe do an RFP, or just talk to different brokers and see if they have a different perspective and bring that to you, because things are changing every day. I mean, especially with, COVID, there's a lot of different risks that we don't always take into account.
So that's a great segue into this new world that we're in terms of post-COVID, dealing with pandemics and what that does from a business risk perspective. So given where we're at now, and it's an evolving and ever-changing landscape, what are some of the things that you're now counseling or coaching your clients about dealing with, pandemic-related risks, or at least just trying to operate a business now that we're, seeing the signs of recovery and things are picking up? Are there some things that they need to do to plan more effectively?
Yeah, there are things that you can do, and there's a lot of different risks out there. We have political risks, just with the civil unrest up in Seattle, Portland. There's a lot of claims for bad faith issues are coming. We have business interruption, and actually there's 5 to 7 rulings every day. And so you've got the carriers, the insurance carriers going, whoa, just a minute, we're paying out. We've had all this weather, and we've had tons of fires in California. So, where's that money going to come from? And so we really don't know what a new normal is going to be.
Right.
A lot of people are trying to just look at their risks, strategize on what they need to do. A lot of top talent, since we've been working remotely, have decided, well, maybe I'm going to go to a different company. So there's so many things going on, and you just have to try to, pivot and be able to react to a lot of that. Yet you want to still grow your company. So you have to take business risks, right, and then you have to evaluate that. So it's been pretty crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I just try to go in there and look at what kind of programs we can get. A lot of the carriers are limiting the limits because they don't want to be out there and exposed. They're looking at upping the retentions at your deductibles. So it used to be like $25,000. Now it's like, oh, let's go 50 to 100. And a lot of underwriters don't want to write any risk. So you can go to the market and talk to like 40 carriers, and maybe 2 people say, okay, I'll write that risk.
So it's you're pretty much you don't have a lot of control. You're basically to what the market will bear. And in many cases, your choice and your selection is very limited now.
Yeah, so that's what I suggest, is that you go look out and start talking about renewals 6 months in advance.
Really? That's a long time.
Yeah, they're saying a long time. And what you want to do is, especially, I think the owners, the business owners or the management team needs to talk to the underwriters. I think it's important that the broker sets up the calls, because you want to be lumped into different buckets. So you really have to plead your case. Before, you just filled out an application, that was it. But now the underwriters really want to know who you are, what's your plans, and how you can be more successful.
That is different. I've never been on a pre-sale underwriting call with a
Really?
carrier. No, I haven't. So that's good advice, I guess, or at least that's the new normal. But that's interesting, and I think another area where I've found, at least the way Alliant or you work, is that when you're dealing with a claim, having a really specialized team that knows your industry, knows how the claims individuals look at various claims made, having someone on your side fighting for your case. because when you get a notification from the carrier that they're only going to cover 20% of all the claims costs, you feel like you're now in a corner. And so talk to me a little bit about some of the groups that you have on the claims processing side that really help as an advocate for your clients.
Well, you brought up a really good point, Jonathan. It's important now, especially in these times, is that your team, your broker, because I can't be an expert on everything, but as long as I can go find an expert and bring them on my team, that's key. So you want to be able, as a broker, to be able to get a subject matter expert by that industry vertical. So you want to bring them on your team, but then also what's important is having the claims advocacy team. More importantly.
And that's pretty unusual to have that within one umbrella, one roof of an insurance company, at least.
Well, yeah, the bigger firms do.
Okay.
But what I've seen at Alliant is all those services, like in a lot of the other larger brokerage firms, you have to be a certain client to be able to use those services at a certain level. Mm-hmm. And here we're able to offer that
to all clients
at all levels.
That's great.
And we also have some proprietary risk tools, management spreadsheets we send out, and we learn more about your company, and so they do a lot of work up front. But our claims folks are just unbelievable. They're just bulldogs. And it's pretty much, they call the carrier and they say, okay, we're on this. What are you going to do for our client? And that's the attitude. And I think that attitude is that way because we're privately held. There's out of the 4,000, there's about 1,500 of us that are equity owners, and so we run this like our own business.
Yeah,
and I think that's makes me very happy that we're able to do that.
That's truly distinguished, and there's ownership of client success ultimately being kind of everyone's got a stake in the ground.
I'll give you another example. I have an aviation company that I do all their insurance for on the property casualty side. They had a claim. Again, I was called because they had a claim that was denied. A helicopter was in a tornado.
Common occurrence.
Yeah, in a tornado down in Oklahoma. So the carrier wouldn't reimburse them at all, even though it was covered. So I was brought in, and because of all my background being in court and so forth, I just did a whole timeline, case study, went through all the language, and found out that the wind was actually a covered peril. So therefore, because the damage was caused by the wind, not rain, sleet, whatever, they should be reimbursed. And so we went through it, and we were able to win $1.5 million in damages.
And that was just to cover the helicopter, or there's more damages than that?
No, that was just the helicopter.
Okay.
And what was interesting was the helicopter was covered on the property and part of the inventory. So the language was very complex, but we were able to resolve that. So I'm very proud of that we were able to do that for our client.
That's amazing, going from 0 to 1.5 million just based on hiring the right team.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. So we were able to do that, and since then we are also helping them with their employee benefits plans, and because we have concierge services with our employee benefit plans, and a lot of very great stuff.
That's awesome. So what are some other, recommendations or suggestions you'd have for business owners? We deal a lot with owners that might be selling their business, and when you go through that transaction, insurance coverage and dealing with who's going to manage a claim that might come out post-transaction is often a subject of discussion, or at least, how to deal with it. Any best practices around that?
Again, it's having your broker, having a subject matter expert on that. So currently I'm working on 3 M&A transactions. And
on the buy side or the sell side?
Actually, 2 are on the buy side, 1 is on the sell side.
Okay.
So, because I'm not the expert, But so I bring in the experts. I've got guys from New York, San Francisco that have, been doing this for 30 years. So I'm able to bring them in. It's just doing your due diligence. And what my experience at Alliant has been, we bring in everyone. So we're bringing in the attorneys. You've got the insurance folks. We have who's doing the due diligence. It could be an external CPA firm. And we're all on the same page, and we're talking about and preparing for the what ifs, right? And so it's just a lot of communication, collaboration, doing work on the onset before the close.
Got it. So, any other recommendations you'd have for business owners on looking how to manage going forward? And I like to say that the top takeaways for 2021 in terms of dealing with property casualty and other risks.
Well, again, I talked about what you need to do is really communicate with your broker. You need to let them know. It's like talking to your doctor. You need to tell them some situations or challenges you're having in your company. You have to be very strategic talking to them. I would say talk to your underwriters, especially now. Ask your broker, which is me, which we will have talks with the underwriters, especially with directors and officers. Policies, so it's just open communication, and the more you tell your broker, the more they know what new products are coming out into the market, and see if that's a good fit for you.
Oh, great.
And start early, please.
Yeah, 6 months. I got that on my calendar right now. I'm going to
6 months, you start early.
Book a time well in advance. Well, Pam, thank you. That's been very informative. Great to get more insight from you, and hopefully some of our listeners will now be better equipped to deal with their renewal or their next upcoming policy. And I'm sure if any of them would like to reach out and learn a little bit more about Alliant or you, could you give them some information on how to get a hold of you?
Yes, you can reach me at pam.holden@alliant.com. That's my email address. Or you can just give me a call at 858-692-6945. I'm always available. It's like 24/7. Just give me a call, and if you have any questions, I'll see if I can answer them for you.
Yeah, I can verify that you're around the clock answering emails and phone calls from
I
personal
know.
experience.
I know.
Well, Eric, why don't you help us wrap this up? Pam's been great, and thanks for being here to help us host the show.
Absolutely. I love this. What a great conversation you guys had. Again, I learned a lot, and I like to hear victories like that. The helicopter story, those are the types of things that I know that, Jonathan, you like to help your clients with, victories every day, and obviously you bring on great guests that do the same. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for bringing Pam on. Pam, thank you, of course, for being on the show, and of course, our last thank you goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Live Life Liberated podcast with the team from Centura Wealth Advisory. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when they come out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Centura Wealth Advisory, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Live Life Liberated podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Centura Wealth Advisory. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Centura Wealth Advisory. Centura is an SEC registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in San Diego, California. Centura and its representatives are in compliance with the current registration and notice filing requirements imposed on SEC registered investment advisors, in which Centura maintains clients. Centura may only transact business in those states in which it is notice filed or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from notice filing requirements. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Tax relief varies based on client circumstances, and all clients do not achieve the same results.